80 years ago, on D-Day, the 6th of June 1944, our nation and those which stood alongside us faced what my grandfather, King George VI, described as the supreme test. How fortunate we were, and the entire free world, that a generation of men and women in the United Kingdom and other allied nations did not flinch when the moment came to face that test. On the beaches of Normandy, in the seas beyond, and in the skies overhead, our armed forces carried out their duty with a humbling sense of resolve and determination, qualities so characteristic of that remarkable wartime generation. Very many of them never came home. They lost their lives on the D-Day landing grounds or in the many battles that followed. It is with the most profound sense of gratitude that we remember them and all those who served at that critical time. We recall the lesson that comes to us again and again across the decades. Free nations must stand together to oppose tyranny. As the years pass, the veterans of the Normandy campaign become ever fewer in number. Over the past 40 years, I have had the great privilege of attending 7 D-Day commemorations in Normandy and meeting so many distinguished veterans. Indeed, I shall never forget the haunting sight and sound of thousands of bemedaled figures proudly marching past into a French sunset on these beaches. Our ability to learn from their stories at first hand diminishes, but our obligation to remember them, what they stood for, and what they achieved for us all can never diminish. That is why I'm so proud that we have a permanent national memorial in Normandy, by which to remember the more than 22,000 service personnel in British units who gave their lives during the D-Day landings and the Battle of Normandy. It was built at the suggestion of a veteran, George Batts. He is sadly no longer with us, but lived to see it built and explained on the day it was opened why it means so much. We left a lot of mates behind, and now I know they will never be forgotten. So for the first time today, we can come together at Gold Beach, the objective of the 50th Infantry Division, to honor those who fought on this ground 80 years ago and who continued for 3 months of the war's fiercest fighting to secure Normandy.
It's a really a long-winded way of saying you're nice enough. Thank you. Why don't we have someone taking photos?
Your Majesties, Mr. Prime Minister, Ministers, veterans of the D-Day landings, Mrs. Christian Lamb, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your word and your presence. I think it means a lot for all your veterans today and for us. And the way you express yourself, your history, our history, even for our civilians. But I would say the presence of both of you here today means a lot for everybody in France. Today with us is such an important day. You are already honored by the French Republic, but we wanted to have just a special moment for you, Mrs. Lamb. You were one of those heroes in the shadows, I would say. You have set us an example which we'll not forget. France will never forget the British troops who landed on D-Day and all their brothers in arms. That faith in freedom which you have never lost, that constant selflessness and devotion both guide us and serve as a duty to us. Madame Christian Lamb, au nom de la Légion d'honneur.
Attention!
That we be able to help somebody else. I don't know, that makes me feel good. That's very good.
How does it feel being here today?
Quite emotional, the first thing, you know. I was first on the beach this morning. It's just the atmosphere. It just catches you, you know. You think what happened 80 years ago. It just makes it more poignant.
I am here partly because I have friends here, but also because my uncle, Frederick Wilkinson, died off Normandy during World War II, and obviously it's very emotional for me to come. We've put a cross out for him today, which has now been covered in the water, perhaps appropriate because he was on a ship and it was taken out by the Germans. So he lost his life, unfortunately. He was only 20. Sadly, his brother also was killed in the Second World War in Burma when he was working with the tanks. But so much loss of life there. So, you know, it's two family members who died in the conflict. So you think back 80 years ago, and it is, as Carl says, very emotional because, you know, we're lucky. You know, those guys, very young guys in their very early 20s, fought for our freedom and liberty, liberation of France and Europe. And it's a crucial date in history that we really must never forget its importance, especially with the world conflicts we have now.
Le fait qu'il y a quand même plein de jeunes
qui ont risqué leur vie, enfin qui sont même morts ce jour-là. Donc pour moi, je trouve que je suis là aujourd'hui pour retransmettre à mon petit-fils aussi cette mémoire-là que mon père m'a transmis, et que mes parents m'ont transmis, si vous voulez.
You just can't forget what happened, and so many people lost their lives for liberation, so that everybody could be free and not being put under. And it's such an important thing.